Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call our public hearing to order. It is January 12th at 6 o'clock. The public hearing is to discuss an impact fee reimbursement. Mr. Shane Brady has asked for this public hearing, and so without further ado, I'm going to ask Mr. Brady to step to the microphone and present his case.
How are you guys? So basically,
Identify yourself, Shane.
I'm Shane Brady, and I live at
Your address.
247 Allen Road. Long story short, it says that I'm allowed to ask for the impact fee money back if it's for affordable housing, and that's what I'm here to do.
Okay, so where is the affordable housing that you're asking the impact fee? Here it says TB, location address, TBD, Elmwood Road. Map lot 090601. So where is it actually that you're asking for?
I haven't been issued a address from code enforcement yet.
Okay, so is it the mobile, the single family?
Yeah, it's two single family, well, one single family and one ADU. But they're both single wide trailers on map 6 lot
Okay.
0901, I think.
Okay, so you're asking a waiver based on affordable housing. Can you define for the board what affordable housing means?
The state of Maine and HUD has an algorithm that determines what affordable is.
Yeah, but I'm asking you, do you know what that algorithm is?
Yeah, it's 30% of the median income.
And do you know the median income in the town of Pownell?
Yeah, it's like 86 or 90,000, somewhere around there.
But do you know what it is?
Yes,
Okay, what is it?
it's like 86 or
I'm asking you for an exact number because we're trying to determine this based on an equation. So,
I can pull it up in like 2 seconds.
but you need to do that.
Panel mean affordable. So it's 104,000 for 2023.
And that statistic is found where?
HUD, Housing and Urban Development.
So 30% of 104.
As roughly 35,000 divided by 12, so they could be under $2,800 a month.
And since how are you going to present that information to the board that your rental for these buildings will be under that figure?
Would you rent a single wide trailer for?
It's not I don't have an issue here. It's you're presenting to the board.
Yeah.
How much is the rent going to be for those particular homes?
So typically in the past, in different towns, we run them
I'm
for,
not asking you typically. I'm asking you for a direct answer. What will the rent be for those two buildings?
as it sits right now, $2,000.
That's not an answer because I'm going to ask you what as it sits tomorrow or as it sits the next day. The board needs a firm answer. What will that rental be? We need to know in order to determine whether or not that fits the algorithm for affordable housing based on the state's recommendation.
It'll never be over 30% of the median income for the town.
George, do you have any questions? Still not an answer for me.
I'm not following where we're going. The 30% of 104 based off of what's now almost 3 years ago, when we had 2024 numbers, 2025 numbers, like.
That's why I don't want to put a number on it. Because it'll never be over 30%. So if there's more families that move in town that are lower income, it changes. And as it changes, you gotta adjust. So that's why it'll never be over 30% of the median income for Pownell. So it will be classified as affordable housing.
Kate, do you have any questions? This is a public hearing, so it's an opportunity for anybody from the public to ask questions or give comments. Is there anybody from the public that has any question or comment? Step up, please.
Matt Welch, Fickett Road. I don't understand why impact fees would be granted. It's still, it doesn't matter if the house costs $5,000 or $500,000. It's still two cars, it's still a family, it's still an impact on, you know, everything that has to happen in the public works and the town. So that's my question.
So Mr. Brady is asking for a waiver because there, I'm not sure why he is, but there is a paragraph in the impact fee ordinance that allows applicants to petition the select board for to waive the impact fee based on affordable housing clause. The select board doesn't have to. The select board has to have a public hearing.
Well, another aspect of affordable housing and versus a trailer park business model is people can rent a trailer for 50 years, 100 years. They're never going to own any asset. So is it affordable? I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it.
That's why I was trying to get some specifics. Thank you. Any other? Yeah. Identify yourself.
Bill Schmidt, Poland Range Road. I concur with this gentleman. Affordable housing, we really can't define that anymore. You're looking at what is affordable? 1,000 a month, maybe $500 a month. We've got a major problem. If it's affordable, it's really low, whatever it is.
Once again, Mr. Brady is correct in asserting that there is an algorithm that's been put out by Department of Housing and Urban Development that affordable housing is 30% of the town's median income. That's something that we can argue the philosophy, we can't argue the equation. What we can determine is whether or not we're willing to grant the waiver based on, based on other factors. Thank you for bringing it. Affordability is and impact fees are tough. Absolutely. This is a public hearing.
The only other issue that I have with the impact fees is how the town has it set up right now. They can't spend all the impact fee money.
That's not relevant. Your petition is to whether or not we were going to waive the impact fee based on affordable housing.
Are you guys open to that idea, or is it, you guys have any more questions about it, or?
Are we open to the question of waiving the impact fee?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're having a public hearing.
I will say one of my comments would be that I feel like Pownell is uniquely susceptible to just our infrastructure, quite honestly, is not very far along the fire station, the public works facility at this moment in time.
Right.
And it's a very small town. We are not a very complex system here. And essentially, we need all the help we can get when it comes to development pressures and added population. So I feel like it doesn't really set a great precedent to refund or waive the impact fees at this moment in time based on the town as a whole.
Now, I would agree with that. To the point that the only resource that I'm gonna be added, is the fire department. Because Public Works isn't gonna plow the road because it's private. And then the registrations, like it'll help out the town because they'll get more revenue through our registrations, dog registrations, stuff like that. And the only financial burden that the town's gonna have is through the fire department. If there's an emergency or a fire or a,
That could be your perspective and your opinion. I would beg to differ. You have people renting the trailer and they have children, therefore they're gonna impact the school system, which is the largest drain on our taxes. If people are gonna drive cars, the road commission is gonna have a, will beg to differ. That will require more maintenance for that driveway. There are so many things that you cannot exclude. A town is a commonwealth, and the definition of that commonwealth is that we pool our resources for the common good, so that everybody has a fair share. We can't differentiate based on wealth or lack of wealth, based on all the other categories that I don't really want to go into right now. We're a commonwealth and everybody is dealt with the same stroke of the pen. So if you put a house up there, 2 houses up there, we have to assume that they will reap the benefits of the town and share in the burdens of the town together.
isn't that what property taxes are for?
And impact fees. Okay? Anybody else from the town have any other comments? This is a public hearing, so there can be no determination from the board right now. We're just taking public comment from the applicant. Becky, you have anything to add?
I guess for me, on an administrative side, so just to recap, so the Housing and Urban Development's last data is 2023, and that's what you're going off from. Can you come to the microphone? And so based on John's question, you would be saying $2,000 as the figures stand today. And then you have to evaluate it as new data comes in. So we have nothing in writing or anything from you that states are going to be reevaluating that from year to year. So if we were, as a town, when I say we, as a town or the select board were to reimburse part or all of the impact fees, my question is, how do we know that you're going to continue to maintain what the definition of affordable housing is from year to year?
That's why I never wanted to put a number on it. So basically, when the new standards come out, the rent would be adjusted to make sure it always stays underneath the 30% threshold.
But are you going to submit something to the town each year that you have pulled these numbers, reevaluated and adjusted? Like,
If code enforcement would like a copy of the leases when they move in, they're more than welcome to have that. I just don't want to give it to the town to have it on public record, but I'm more than willing to verify it with either you or code enforcement or the select board.
because it's a two-part equation. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking. Like, one part is affordable housing, which in turn is why you're asking for this decision from the select
Right.
board. So if they make their decision that's in favor of you, how do we know that that's going to continue from year to year? So I'm just trying to kind of pull the administrative side and how that piece is. It's a what if question, but that's where my mind goes when I think about the long term of these things.
We do have quite a bit of housing in Gray and Gloucester and Durham.
You say we. Can you specify what we mean?
Basically my family.
So is that a corporation or is that just under Brady LLC or what is that?
It's in a bunch of different LLCs and stuff like that. But what it is code enforcement or the town will email me once in a while to have an updated. I basically just send them over my leases and then they verify that it falls within the categories.
Those leases, I'm assuming, are mobile home parks.
Nope, single family homes.
Who give lease information to a town?
I give it to them to verify what the property is being leased at, but it doesn't go on public record. So it'd be like if code enforcement, they gotta do their annual check to make sure it's in compliance.
I have strong doubts whether or not the town panel can enter into agreement where anything that's transferred from a taxpayer to a town employee cannot be public record. So,
And that's
sure
what,
what's going on in the other towns, but I'm pretty sure that I would not want to guide the town of Pownell to an arrangement like that.
it's
Anything that you
not,
give to a public employee in the town of Pownell is public information. That's just the way and nature of the municipal government. But if you have arrangements with other towns, then God bless them. All right, well, so unless you have any other, we have your application here. We need to, if there's no more comment, end the public hearing, and then we'll take it up during our regular, can't make a decision. Does the board have any other questions for Mr. Brady? I'm sorry.
I'm last minute. Susan Peters, Allen Road. I guess my question is, this is not a building that low-income folks are asking us to build on their own. It's someone who owns it that, I mean, I don't know, but I'm assuming is not low income. And how, it's not that much. So over the years that we're coming, how is this really going to benefit any low-income person? And how will we know if they're actually low-income people or just someone who's choosing to rent from them?
All good questions, Susan. This was Susan Peters of the Allen Road. Oh, did you say it? I'm sorry. Unfortunately, Susan, the question is, the idea was to set up a avenue for low, back when the impact fee was developed for the town. Comprehensive plan suggested that we design, incorporate low-income housing for the town of Pownell. There was a dearth of low-income housing. The impact fee was structured so that potentially, if a developer wanted to come in and put in low-income housing, then the select board could waive the impact fee. The conversation at the time, a little history lesson, was if the developer were to, I want to make sure that my memory is accurate, were to create a development that would benefit the town within the comprehensive plan guidelines, that then the select board should consider a waiver. I think they were looking at communities, cluster housing, stuff like that. But we're constrained by the language of the impact fee ordinance. The ordinance says that if someone wants to request a waiver for the definition, that we need to consider. But good questions on your part. Sorry, I hear your name. Okay, I think unless, go ahead, Shane.
one more question I'll leave the board with is, if the board doesn't think that this project falls under affordable housing, what does fall under affordable housing in Pownell? That's kind of just the last thing I'll leave the board with.
Okay. That's a good question that I think the rest of the country is grappling with. And I'm not quite sure that the board needs to consider it. What we need to consider is you've defined your housing based on kind of an ambiguous rental lease agreement to be, yeah, low-income housing. The board needs to consider whether we agree with your definition based on your arrangement and whether or not any waiver of any impact fee is in the best interest of the town, whether it's for low-income housing or for housing for the disabled or housing for the elderly. The consideration is it fair to allow one person to have a residence and not pay impact fees, have another person who has a residence that may cost more, but has similar constraints on the resources of the town? Is it fair to make the majority subsidize the minority? That's really, I think, the issue that will eventually be discussed at the town. Your definition of impact with low-income housing, Hudson definition of low-income housing are all relative to the case, but they're not really the case that we need to consider.
You guys, has the board reviewed the impact fee ordinance?
Once again, we review the paragraph that includes what you've appealed here.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you guys were familiar with it.
We've also had feedback from the lawyer on this.
Okay.
We've looked into it pretty closely already.
Right. Yeah. And then, if it doesn't go in my favor, I was planning on filing an ADB appeal about it. So even if it,
You don't need to give us that information now.
okay.
But, I'm sorry, Kate Day is correct. We have, it has been vetted by our lawyers.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to save the taxpayers money because a little bit that the impact fees are gonna get aren't gonna outweigh what the ADB appeal would cost the town.
Thank you. Okay. Unless anybody, I want to make sure I give plenty of time. Time is it now? Then I guess I can successfully close this public hearing at 6:25. We'll take a 5-minute recess and then we'll start our regular meeting. Good evening. I'd like to call the regular meeting to order, Monday, January 12th. As usual, we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able to, please stand and I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is accounts payable. AP warrant number 16, the amount of $93,587.54.
I move that we approve fiscal year 26 AP warrant number 16 in the amount of $93,587.54.
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded to approve AP warrant number 16, the amount of $93,587.54. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is payroll journal number 268, the amount of $17,288.87.
Move that we approve payroll journal number 268 in the amount of $17,288.87.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded to approve payroll journal number 268 in the amount of $17,288.87. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Next item on the agenda is minutes of the regular meeting, Monday, December 22nd, 2025 at 6 o'clock.
I move that we approve the minutes of December 22nd, 2025 regular meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes of December 22nd, 2025 regular meeting. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public comment on non-agenda items. This is an opportunity for any resident of the town of Pownell to step forward and be heard by the select board. Bill.
Bill Schmidt, Poland Range, 20 Poland Range Road. I got a few questions here, certainly don't need to be answered tonight. I went to the budget committee meeting last week. The taxes in Pownell have been going up. It seems between 5 and 10% a year for a long time. That is compounded every year and is unsustainable. I asked about how we go about implementing a 10% budget cut for every department in the town of Pownell. I understand that much of the increase is due to the RSU 5 budget, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to bring our own budget down to a sustainable level. If the select board wanted to reduce taxes by reducing the budgets, what process would the select board use? That's the first question. Next question is regarding the salt shed, the fire stations, and the public works buildings. CEO Tim Gidding and I examined the salt shed. That decay didn't happen overnight. Fire Chief Jesse Peters and I gave me a tour of the fire stations. The North Pownell Station could use some care. The fire station in Pownell Center may soon have issues with the roof, and some trees need to be cut before they fall onto the station. Both fire stations need some work, may need some other work as well. The question is, do we have a process for inspecting these town buildings, perhaps annually by the code enforcement officer, to look for signs of decay so that they can be fixed before the decay becomes a big problem, such as with the salt shed? The next is a comment about the future facilities project. The committee has done a wonderful job. But at what point does the select board need to review the situation to determine if it makes sense to spend between 62 and 90,000 more towards a project that currently has no grant money? We'll meet with the grant writer at the next FFC meeting. But given the federal budget problems, the state budget problems, we shouldn't be optimistic that there will be much grant money. Perhaps the select board should consider using money to repair the current buildings that we will need to use for at least the next few years if we do get grant money. If we don't get any grant money, we'll have wished that we had spent the money differently. Should the Future Facilities Committee be tasked to consider a Plan B or a Plan C? That's all.
You stay, because we'll address questions one at a time. As you
Sure, yeah, definitely.
You just summarize question number one.
Yeah, it's basically about the compounding of the tax increases, 5 to 10% every year for a long time. I know the mill rate hasn't been that, but of course your tax bill has been going up that amount.
So your question is, how does a select board?
Yeah, to reduce taxes, I know they tried this in the past. They suggested that all town departments decrease their budget by a certain amount. What is the process for the select board? Do they tell or ask the budget committee?
So Becky, and you may not know the answer, but in the last 5 years, we had 2 years of no increase.
I would have to go back and look specifically.
My understanding, since I wear this, that last, 5 years ago, there would be no increase for 2 years. Then we went up the last 3 years.
So the no increase would have been right before I came here, and that was over COVID. So I do believe there was a lot of probably keep the numbers flat, if I read just from my recall of historical conversations.
So I think your description of the situation is inaccurate. The select board has done, at least in my tenure, a pretty good job at keeping taxes flat. The last 3 years, we've been hit pretty hard by whatever it was that affected the economy in this country, and things became really expensive. And we have been working pretty hard with the budget committee to try to minimize the impact to the taxpayers. It's the select board's job to come up with a budget that we feel can operate the town with financial prudence, but addressing some of the issues which you addressed in question number 3, if I can remember number 3. Well, keeping our equipment and our buildings. So it's a combination between the budget committee and the select board, and you know, all those meetings are open to the public. Love having people come to those budget meetings. They're a hoot. Okay, so that's my answer. I think your history is a little off. Went back to your tax bills. See that we had a run of 2 or 3 years where we're used a lot of surplus money, or not surplus, unassigned fund balance money to minimize the tax burden. The last 3 years have been hard on everybody.
Yes, I agree, especially hard on everybody past 3 years. And we don't have a crystal ball, but there's no ARPA money that we could expect. Federal budget, we've got a lot of wars we're fighting. There's a good chance we won't be getting a whole lot of money back from the feds. We definitely could have a few more years of the exact same tax increases.
You're right, and I guess my go-to in these conversations is the select board only recommends. Town meeting approves.
Right.
Taxpayers, when they look at a tax bill, they're responsible for that tax bill. Because you have the opportunity to say yes or no to every single item. The select board can't spend any money.
But the select board and the budget committee have an incredible amount of input, because unfortunately, a lot of people don't attend a lot of the meetings. And when it comes to town meeting, a few more people do attend. And it says the budget committee recommends, the select board recommends approval on everything. So it's kind of after the fact.
Back what our recommendation is, we'd be hard to suggest to spend $1,200,000 on the road department, but not recommend it being approved. I think we have to be very careful that I think citizens need to understand that they're responsible for their tax bill. You have simple yes or no vote. And if people don't feel like the select board is managing the town funds correctly, then it's a very easy fix.
But it only happens in June. So are you telling me that the select board can't recommend that the budget committee look at ways to cut the budget? Usually it's about how to get money to pass a budget, but it's never been focused on how can we cut a budget?
How many budget committee meetings have you had? I want to make sure that you have,
Just two.
you should keep going because.
I will, yes.
Really good.
Oh, they do. They do.
They do a really good job. And if you would happen to be a department head, we have a department head here that could probably vouch for this. They're after, we have 2 department heads here. They're after them penny, nickel, shilling. They're trying to make sure that every item that they suggest in their budget can be justified.
Oh, sure, yes. Yeah, definitely. It's not easy. It won't be easy. If we did want to, it's easy to, just like all the bonds in the state level, the state of Maine always approved every bond. It's easy to,
Be careful now, it's not the state of Maine.
oh, yeah, so I'm just, even the town,
You and me.
even the town, we do the same thing.
State bond is still you and me. Does it, I don't want
Oh,
to monopolize the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so
it's your
the,
responsibility and everyone else who's listening, you know, if the select board pays, believe it or not, we pay taxes just like everybody else, and nobody wants to pay more anymore.
the budget committee was under, my response from them was that you would have to initiate asking them to see about cutting the budget when I asked them the same question. It doesn't get initiated through the budget committee.
Sure, that go there.
Yeah. Then next one was regarded some type of maintenance on the buildings that are getting, we spend a lot of time and money on, unfortunately, the building, that half of the building that we don't actually use hardly at all. But we've got a lot of other buildings that are starting to decay, such as the fire stations and the public works buildings. So
Department heads are pretty careful about evaluating their buildings. Unfortunately, the town has been very financially parsimonious in terms of their budget because taxpayers do not want large tax increase. So we have deferred maintenance on a lot of buildings that probably we shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Now, as in everything else, if you want to dance, you usually have to pay the fiddler. So we're paying for a lack of gumption to maintain our buildings forever. We've got RFPs out for in the salt shed, and typically the fire chief adds money in his budget for building maintenance. One of the buildings we don't own, it's a lease.
does code enforcement officer annually also inspect those buildings?
Yeah, please. Sorry, Bill, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
clarification for the fire chief.
Chief Peters, Allen Road. We own both buildings. We leased the land from the church for Center Station, but both buildings are owned by the town.
Do you agree that typically every year you maintenance schedule on the buildings? Probably not sufficient, but. is your-
Yeah, so every year I take a look at the buildings and decide what we need for a maintenance budget. The issue there is, it's one of those things that every year I get told, keep my budget as low as I can. And we've been hit year after year after year with payroll increases that are driven by the state minimum wage law. So our wages have gone up and up and up and up, but other things have had to take a hit. And that's one of the areas that is hard to increase when other areas need increase, like keeping the apparatus up and running.
Mr. Schmidt had a suggestion that perhaps the code enforcement officer would go with you. If that ever happened, would that be relevant to?
I'd be open to that. Yeah, it hasn't happened, but I'd be open to it.
Okay, that's number two. And number three was,
That was the Plan B and C for the Future Facilities Committee. If we don't get any grant money, we have, as you know, a few possible opportunities for B and C. But no one's really tasked to look at that. We're kind of myopic at this point. So the thoughts of looking at a B and C, I think that would probably have to come from the select board also as well.
the select board is responsible for all alternatives, and we're currently waiting for another RFP to be settled and an evaluation done on really good work on the Future Facilities Committee.
Yeah.
And we can only see where that'll go. I think they made a great financial recommendation. It wasn't the $500,000 that they asked for a town meeting. I think they've been very responsible. If this doesn't fly, then there'll be people working on that. But it's always good to have other options available. I think, once again, I think it's important for the town people to pay attention to what's going on. I think a lot of people are paying attention to that. Because it's going to be a big deal financially.
So what authority does the select board have? Let's say we haven't awarded the 60,000 or 90,000 for the design, the design, and then we find out we still aren't getting any grant money. Does the select board say, spend the money anyway? Or does the select board even have any authority?
Expenditures are voted on by the town meeting.
So no decisions like that can be made till June?
I'd love to be able to spend money without asking you.
Or not spend money, actually?
Not spend, yeah. But we're constrained by the town meeting form of government to ask the corporation of the town for any expenditure or lack of expenditure. It's all You have the power of the vote, yes or no.
So we should all wait till June 15th.
That's the only time that the select board goes to the town and asks for money. Now, you have some money to give the town.
Yeah, it's discouraging. I mean, we can all sell our properties for, gee, to somebody from Connecticut, or we can stay in Pownell. But that's discouraging. Thank you.
I'm not sure I understand that.
It's unsustainable. And we only can do something on June 15th. That's okay.
Well, living in the town of Pownell is, as far as I know, and I'm not trying to be snarky here, is voluntary.
Exactly.
It's voluntary, and you, the residents of the town, are in charge of the budget. Many towns vote down their budgets on a regular basis. I think we've had a pretty good run.
I'll follow that up with a question. Are the residents of the state in charge of the budget? Are the residents of the country in charge of the budget? That's no. The answer is no. But we can, through at least a smaller group, we can have an impact.
Absolutely.
But
You have total control of the financial aspect of this town. We don't have a lot of control over the RSU 5. The select board doesn't have a lot of control of that. Once again, it's the onus is on the residents. They have a town meeting form of referendum where you can go and vote the budget, the RSU 5 up or down. But if you go to the RSU 5 budget meetings, there are very few residents from the town of Pownell at those meetings. And our town administrator would be able to get a direct number, but there are very few people that go to the budget meeting up and down. That's 72% of the municipal budget. And there are 2 people from the town of Pownell voting on it. Then it goes to the general election, and you have the opportunity to vote on it again. The town of Pownell has supported the RSU 5 budget, I think, every single time. 72% of your budget is supported by the town. So we're always looking to save money. If you go to those meetings and find ways to save money, I suggest you invite your friends. The more involvement in municipal government, the better and more efficient municipal government works. We try to be as transparent as we can. I don't know what else to tell you. I appreciate your concern. You echo the concerns of majority of phone calls that come to my phone.
I'd like to add that the town administrator and I recently sat in on a meeting with the RSU 5 directors and the new superintendent and other town government officers from the other towns that are part of RSU 5. And the school district is finding their percentage growth to be unsustainable, similarly as you mentioned, and they're looking very hard at things that they can cut and what they want to cut versus what they need to cut. One of the more expensive things for the RSU 5 to support is Pownell School. So, I mean, my comment at that meeting was that the school is central part to our community, and we are essentially kind of a small town amongst Freeport and Durham with much less complex systems, and just encourage them to consider nonetheless the importance of our school to us. So.
Thank you for attending the meetings and the meetings you've been attending too up in Augusta. At some point, similar topic, you might remember the days back when there wasn't an RSU 5 and Pownell was the population wasn't a whole lot different. Perhaps pulling out of RSU 5, I know a couple towns are, but perhaps at least thinking about pulling out of RSU 5 could be on the table. Thank you.
think it's in the minds of many people, especially if school were threatened. Jay, you had something to say? Sorry, thank you for being patient.
Just to piggyback off, so it's pretty evident that Pownell's a dying community. Like the people that live here their whole life are getting forced out because of taxes, or they can't sell their house to replace what they have, or they end up moving on to go to a different area. And everybody from the four sides and the Cape Elizabeth, Connecticut, Mass, they're all moving in. And then most of it is the school budget, like you said, 72% is where all the taxes go. But also Freeport and Durham aren't gonna stop building houses. So our tax bills will keep going up just to support the school. Why wouldn't Pownell look into allowing more housing or allow development to like supplement the tax base? Because not everything causes a burden on the school. Like if you guys allowed more businesses or you allowed more elderly housing or anything, it would supplement the tax base, help with the taxes, and not affect the school. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. I think there are a couple premises there, Mr. Brady, that I would take issue with. But the most one is the town does not disallow any of those establishments that you suggested. That the town is dying, I would also take umbrance with. But the town is open to many possibilities, just nobody has come forward. The latest was Estabrooks, and Estabrooks came, the town had to change multiple zoning to allow that business. We welcome that business. Not a lot of people calling, knocking on our door. So, but thank you for your input. Any other, we're still on public comment on non-agenda. Any other? Thank you.
Susan Peters, Allen Road. I understand all these statements that are being made. I truly do. But I think we also need to realize that I've heard this from so many towns around us right now, that it's not just Pownell that people are worried about. And I hate to see our departments lowering their budgets and not giving the services that we need. I would hate for Public Works not to be able to buy the salt that they need to keep our roads safe. Or I would hate for the fire department to have to cut something and they can't come take care of someone if their house is burning down or they have a critically ill person. So there's a lot to balance, and I do appreciate everyone's time trying to do it.
Thank you. Any comments for the board or the town administrator on this particular matter? Okay. Then, without further ado, we'll go on to department head reports. Department head reports can be found on the website. Very well-designed website. I appreciate the new website. Click on the department and the report is there. Does the select board have any questions for department heads, which are so kind to be here? George? Kate? Neither do I. Does the select board have anything to report out? Kate Day.
So I want to report on an issue that we had since the start of the new year. I believe we had a resident come in and comment that they were unable to buy a dump sticker at the transfer station in Freeport. And it also came to the attention of our solid waste committee head based on, I believe, a report from another town that uses the transfer station in Freeport. So as a result of, and so our solid waste committee head wrote an email to Freeport Town Council, a fairly detailed, wonderful email. I apologize that I was unprepared to bring that and read it aloud. But as a result of the email and this whole thing and are questioning what was going on because we had no prior knowledge at all to what was going on. I went to Freeport Town Council meeting last Tuesday night and sat in on the discussion that they were having and was able to reference a staff memo that they sent out detailing the description of what happened, which evidently they are delving very deeply into their own solid waste ordinances. And it was discovered that there was nothing written in their ordinance about non-town residents of Freeport using the transfer station. So suddenly the town manager in Freeport and the assistant town manager in Freeport became concerned that it was illegal to be selling these dump stickers to other residents of other towns. And they, in haste, stopped selling them without letting anybody know. So my comment was that this had been a precedent. People had been buying these stickers for many, many years. As long as I've lived in the town, you could buy these stickers and use the transfer station. The non-residents use the transfer station for bulky waste. We have our own setup with Casella for recyclables and household trash. The Freeport transfer station does not take household trash from non-residents. But I told them that we appreciate our partnership with them and would like to continue it and be able to access that facility for bulky waste at least. So after much discussion, what their conclusion was that they would need to raise the rate from what has been a long time, $40 a year for the calendar year for a sticker for a resident to use anytime during that calendar year. They would pay probably a fee on top of that for whatever the bulky waste amounts to, depending on the weight of it, et cetera, the cost of the transfer station would put on it. So the town council voted to immediately resume selling stickers to non-residents at a cost of now $50 per calendar year.
Thank you for that report, Kate Day.
I tuned in via Zoom on that as well. And I just want to comment that the council seemed very open to continued discussions. They wanted to make sure that the other neighboring towns affected by this were brought to the table. And they want to see data before they make any future decisions about any change in costs. So this will probably come back around again throughout the year with them for reevaluation in fees next year. But they were just very open to conversations and continuing that service. That was a comment made by a couple of the councilors that they wanted to make sure that they were able to continue the service to the neighboring towns.
So if we can just repeat, because people are watching this, Kate Day, the town council voted to immediately start reissuing dump stickers at a higher rate and continue the tariff on, it's a weight tariff on bulky waste.
Yes, that's correct.
So that should be probably put on the website that we verify with transfer station that's really a go and people can go and buy their stickers again. Thank you, Kate, for attending that meeting.
We'll get something out on the website this week.
Thank you. Good. All right, under new business, impact fee refund request from Shane Brady. We had a public hearing before this meeting. Is there a motion, is there any more discussion now that we are at a decision-making stage? Is there any more discussion to the impact fee refund request? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Seeing no motion, then we will just pass on. So the request is denied by lack of motion. Next item on the agenda is the ambient presentation. See a stranger out there, so
I'm gonna work on screen sharing the presentation. So as he's getting settled, I'm gonna work on that.
Hey, can you just give an introduction?
Yes, so I've had a Zoom call with Eli Spencer, your coworker, regarding the Ampian Community Solar Program now being available for municipalities. And we've gone through a little bit how much, based on our utility bill, how much the town office, the town departments might save per year based on our current usage. We expect we may be in the future installing heat pumps, and we expect our usage to go up as a result of that. So, but yeah, we invited you to, I was unavailable, so you can introduce yourself and welcome and.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Brian Prudhomme. I'm out of Lisbon Falls. I've lived in Maine for a while now. I've been working with community solar for about 4 years, so I've become pretty versed in it. And essentially what you guys have offered to you is it comes in the form of a 15% discount, but it's different than what you've seen in the past for things that have become available. So like people will mistaken this for like a third party supplier. This does not in any way affect any utility rate that you pay. It works with the rates that you are currently paying, subtracting a 15% discount. So for example, right now, since you probably have commercial meters, you're paying about 21 to 22 cents per kilowatt hour that you use between your supply and your delivery. You guys would get a 15% discount off of that. If the rates were to ever come down, which is obviously very unlikely now, but if they did, you would now get a 15% discount off of a smaller number. More likely to happen, they continue to go up. It would just be attached to a larger rate now. But this in,
Can you define you? You say you.
sorry. So all of the meters that you enrolled into this program. So every bill that you pay, you can enroll through Ampian into the community solar program. And what we would do is we would look at the usage like we already did for you for the town, and we would calculate the annual usage. And then for each meter or bill you pay, we would assign a share of credits. A solar credit is a solar kilowatt hour, and it offsets your usage from the utility at a 1-for-1 rate. That is the program that the state of Maine fought for to help renewable energy be beneficial for homeowners. In a lot of states, it's not a 1-for-1 exchange, meaning solar credits or solar kilowatt hours are not valued at the same amount in other states as they are in Maine. So we would assign a share of solar credits based off of each bill's usage. And then each month, those credits would come onto the grid and it would show up on that bill that you pay on an extra page. And it would say what you used from the utility, what you had generated for solar credits, and then any banked generation. As long as your solar credits or solar generation is greater than your usage, you're going to see your bill paid. If it's not, it's going to pull from the bank that you have to make up the difference at a 1-for-1 exchange. So you would see the bills paid, and then whatever the amount was, you would receive a bill from Ampian for, say it was $100 it paid on that bill, you would get a bill from us for 85. And it would happen like that for each bill that you enrolled into our program.
You say that again. Just the math.
The math part?
Yeah.
Okay,
And
okay. So on, and I'm now thrown off because I'm trying not to say your, but on the bills that you guys pay as a municipality, you have, I think it was 5 meters or bills that you pay. The rates set from CMP are for commercial SGS meters, about 10 point something cents for delivery and around 11 for, actually it's now like 12 for supply. You add that together, you get about 22 cents per kilowatt hour. That's what you're currently paying. That's what you'll continue to pay to CMP. By enrolling those bills or meters through Ampian, you will receive a 15% discount off of that rate. So if you were spending $1,000 a month for one account, you would pay, you'd save $150 a year, you know, or whatever the amount of time was that you spent that.
So there's a financial advantage. And there would also be the advantage, depending on your, I guess it's almost a philosophical persuasion that we are supporting communities. That the town could say, that the town, its comprehensive plan has recommended, please correct me if I'm wrong, we look to different forms of energy sources. Okay, I'm just trying to.
Yeah. And any questions, like, please just ask them while I'm here. The biggest reason why my job exists is because people don't understand how this works. They never take advantage of it. They don't get a chance to ask the questions that they have, and then it never makes sense. So my role is to make sure this makes sense for you. And then also Eli and myself would be a supporting role, meaning if you were to sign up for this, you could call us or reach out at any point, and we would be vested in making sure that you guys understood how this was going or any questions that you had. You made a point of that you might have higher usage in the future. So a solar farm is only interested in accounting for all of the kilowatt hours that it produces. Does not matter we do not care about how many people are in that farm. So we are only interested in assigning enough credits to cover your usage. So if you were to use more power, we would just assign you more credits. If you were to use less, we would downsize the allocation that you have, and we would be reallocating, we would be reviewing your usage every quarter. So we would be continually looking at your accounts that you pay for. The other aspect, what we've done for the town of Elliott, the town of Brooksville, and I believe there's I think the Monmouth as well. We set up a partnership or a campaign where we created a campaign page that went over all the information that we spoke about. It serves as like an educational purpose. And also we donate I believe it's $100 for every account that is enrolled through that page for residents, businesses, and like, for example, the town of Brooksville, we donated towards a new roof for their salt shed. And I believe it's up to like $5,000 right now. So that's another thing that we are offering to towns to help just get the information out, be a supporting role, and then be able to, donate to some cause of your choice.
So it was my understanding that the program in Brooksville required a minimum number of residents to sign up with Ampian. Is that correct?
I was not aware of that. So there's a lot of nuance in these campaigns. We wouldn't force you to agree to a minimum amount. My understanding is if we set you up a campaign page and only 2 people enrolled, you would earn 2 of those bonuses. So there wouldn't be like any minimum that you needed to meet. And we would be willing to work that out. Maybe that's something that they had discussed, but that's not something that I was aware of. So.
George, any questions?
So you talk about the solar credits. Where are these solar credits coming from? Are these from solar farms that you guys have located elsewhere?
They're all located in Maine.
Right, but I just mean like not something that we're gonna have to put in Pownell, or you guys would be looking to put it in Pownell.
No, no. So these are all existing solar farms throughout the state of Maine attached to CMP's power grid. So they would all be in attached into CMP's power grid. Yeah. I think this gentleman has a question.
I have a question
Oh,
real quick
yeah.
first. So we go back to the billing. I think I missed
Sure.
a step in that conversation. So currently we get a bill from CMP for our kilowatt hours or delivery. So now you're saying we would get, if we enrolled our meters in Ampion, we would get a bill from Ampion. And I'm assuming that piece is going to be missing from my CMP bill now. Okay, I just want to
Yes.
connect that
Yeah.
dot because I was like, wait a minute, it sounded like there was two bills coming for the same thing for a minute. So
Yes.
I just wanted to, from the person who's having to figure out, and get the check inputted, I wanted to know how
Yeah.
that works. So
Bill, did you have a question?
Yes, Bill Schmidt, Poland Range Road. So is this program for the town of Pownell Incorporated and the residents, or both?
It would be for everyone. So currently, right now, anyone in the state of Maine can enroll with
Whether
us.
it's a business or,
Whether it's a business, a municipality, or a residential meter.
so if I assume we're all paying, not that we all are, the standard offer, you'll be 15% less than that?
Correct, and 15% off of your delivery rate, which if, as a residential meter, is 13.1 cents. It's actually more than what you're paying for supply.
And we don't have to guarantee a certain number of kilowatt hours?
You have to be using at least 1,600 kilowatt hours a year, which is a very small amount.
And if we use more or over whatever we say we think we're going to need, we'll still get that 15% discount?
So you would get enrolled, we have to submit a bill copy. So we would look at your bill and we would actually pull the usage directly from CMP, and it says the usage on your bill. That's what we would be using to figure out how many credits you would receive.
After we add, let's say, heat pumps, do we resubmit our new estimate, or how's that work?
It would be smart, it would be a good idea if you guys ever did that to let us know, but we would see that bump in usage because we are like synced up with CMP.
Is there a time where instead of drawing from your community solar, we would actually exceed something that you can't give us and we'd be going on the standard offer instead?
So yes, that is a possibility. And so I want to paint a better picture. You want to look at this as you are using power from CMP, and then you're generating, you're being assigned kilowatt hours from a solar farm that are going to offset that usage. And if we were not able to offset the entire usage, whatever kilowatt hours were left over, you would just get a bill at the same rates that you're currently paying. So there's not like a penalty of any kind if that were to happen.
So it sounds good, which makes you wonder, what are the risks? I assume the viability of Ampion as a company, and also state law changes, if suddenly the state legislature changes any money or funding or rules regarding.
So the laws did just change at the beginning of this year. No more solar farms are able to be built currently. That could change. In the case of Ampion as a company, we have been around probably the longest, and we do oversee a lot of different companies' solar farms. If there was any scenario where you're on this program and then, I use the really, the situation of like a tornado blew through or an ice storm or whatever, took out the farm and it was no longer operational, there'd be no penalty. You're still getting your power from CMP. You just don't have that offset taking place. And so you're just going to pay what you're currently paying. Wouldn't be any discount. And we would work to get you re-enrolled with a new farm, or get you switched to a different solar farm. But in the scenario of the program just evaporating, it's very unlikely because there's a lot of time and money in the state of Maine has a big, they have a vested interest. So they wanted this to be around just to have more renewable energy in the state. So
Is there any flat fee from you in addition to the rate with the 15% discount? For example, right now we get a delivery fee from CMP, and then we have the energy from Florida Power and Light, somebody else.
So no, you would not pay anything other than whatever you were gonna pay the utility minus 15%. Whatever kilowatt hours we offset, the value of that from the utility minus 15%.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, how, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just for the record, I already know the answer to this question, but what is the timeline for if we wanted to cancel our?
Okay. So in your contract, it asks you for a 6 months notice to cancel. That is being very conservative, and the reason behind that is because when you sync up with CMP in this program, they actually hold the keys a little bit to when this would stop for you. So to protect ourselves legally, we're asking for more time than you would actually see. So one thing I did not get into is when your billing were to start, you would see your Ampian bill in arrears to your CMP bill. So say this started the 1st of January and you had credits on your January, February, and March CMP bills. You wouldn't get a bill for January's billing period from Ampian until March. So you'd actually get like 3 months of not, I don't want to call it free power because it's not the case, but of discounted bills before you'd get an Ampian bill. So, and then it's always 3 months behind. So if you were to cancel, you would still get a bill from those 2 months that you already received credits for, but haven't been billed for them. So likely it would take about 3 months for you to stop seeing credits, but because it has to do with CMP as well, in your contract, it would say 6. So just going off the pretense of everything that this would work exactly like I'm telling you, it's just saving you money, and you guys wanted to make a big change, you'd want to just allocate like 6 months ahead of time just to be safe.
Okay, so how did Brooksfield present this to the town? So here's the idea. So how do that town make it available to its town?
We created them a landing page, so it was online, and it had a bunch of resources, everything that they, needed, people to reach out to if they had questions. Yeah.
So the board decided it was in the best interest of the town moving forward, and it might require town meeting vote out, figure that out. Ampian would provide the educational material for people to understand the mathematics.
Yes, and we would create the entire page for you. Yeah.
So, thank you. That was very informative.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shane.
I just got a question.
Yeah, step up, please.
What's the over under for the people that sign up versus people that cancel it?
Like, how many people cancel it that sign up?
Yeah, like are you at 10%, 20%?
So I don't have a specific number on that. However, I will tell you the people that sign up and then cancel it are people that don't get this type of explanation. They're people that get a flyer in the mail. They say, oh, I'm going to save 15% off my bill. I'm going to sign up for it. They have no idea how it works. And then they don't even realize that their billing from Ampian is 3 months behind. So their pattern of billing can change, and then they don't call anyone. They just cancel it. And then, they don't get to see the whole picture.
So they're canceling it because they're confused or it's confusing?
They're canceling it partly from confusion because they don't have a good explanation on it. So if you were to go to a solar farm, they would prefer that you sign up with a representative versus you're just doing it on your own, because then you get a good explanation. So that's the big purpose of why we're available. We would be making ourselves available to you.
What happens if you guys sell out of all your credits? Like, so if you guys allocated too many people to too many, not enough credits,
Yep.
is there like a guarantee that the town can lock in and get X amount of credits no matter what, or is it?
So again,
First come, first serve?
it's first come, first serve in the sense that right now there is a finite amount of credits remaining. I don't know the exact number on that, but I could find out easily. And we would assign you guys a share of those based off of your usage. And then that amount remaining will eventually get used up, but people move out of state, they cancel. There's a lot of space that, you know, will become available very often. So,
Is there a way that you guys could enter a contract with the town to guarantee X amount of credits, or is it, so it's not the first come, first serve?
if you were to sign up, you would be getting that like, we would, in the contract, it would state that we would be assigning credits based off of your usage. So, and then after that, it's not in our interest to assign more and more customers.
Yeah, but you mentioned about like if a tree fell on solar panels or a tornado or something, and then you guys didn't have the power.
Right.
Do you guys reimburse the town that 15%, or would it just be a wash?
So if that something like that happened, there would be a hold on the discount being put on your bill. But that's very unlikely to happen. So,
Yep. That's pretty much it.
okay.
Shane, those are good
Thank you.
questions.
Yeah.
Good questions. Um,
Making me think.
No, I mean, you know, the personal perspective, the efficiency main fiasco takes me back whenever I see another offer. They did not do a service to the state, but this, I'd like some time to think about this and come up with some questions, but that's only one of three. We'll have to make a decision as a board, and then I really appreciate you coming.
Sure, absolutely.
You made it clearer. I'm not quite sure I'm totally clear, but I'm clear enough to have a discussion with my other board members. George?
I mean, it seems pretty clear to me. I don't know which way I would necessarily go. The big question I've got is, this is just for the town buildings, correct? This isn't for the whole town yet, unless we decided to launch a community-wide.
Correct. So it is currently, anyone in the town could go on Ampian and they could sign up for this. What we're doing is creating, it's now becoming available for municipalities, and we're creating like a way for you guys to get the right information out to people and, you know, get a benefit to yourself, to the town.
Excuse me.
But anyone could, outside of this, just go on and do it themselves. So.
So when I was working with Eli, I went to the town office. The town administrator, Becky, provided me with a bill. And we had Eli go over the bill, and I believe the savings was 900 some, maybe 936 or something like that for the year.
So you guys currently use 33,291 kilowatt hours. Estimated annual savings would be about 1,021. And that's at the current rate. So the rates are set to go up about 8% a year for the next, I want to say 5 years. So as those rates go up, those numbers are going to climb as well. Obviously, you're going to be paying more, which isn't a good thing, but you'll be saving more too.
So Becky, can I just have you detail that bill was for what?
I think I gave you three. I think it was Mallet Hall, Public Works, and Central Station. So you actually looked at three different ones. I'm not sure that we had North Station or Pownell Center Water Association in that submittal, so. But those were the three bigger
I
bills.
recall there were three.
Yes.
So are you saying you guys have more than three bills that you pay for?
We have five.
Okay, but
Yeah,
you like.
I think at the time we had three grouped together, so it was a really quick, easy thing to
Gotcha.
pull in. And they're the bigger, so Mallet Hall being this building, Public Works being that building, and then the North Station being the main fire department.
Gotcha,
Or
okay.
would be the higher electric bills from the five, so. So I have one more question in regards to the campaign. So town enrolls and starts a campaign. How long does somebody need to stay enrolled in order for the town to receive the $100 towards whatever project we would be putting it towards? Do they have like a minimum of 6 months that they have to be enrolled before it
That's-
qualifies?
That's a great question. I would say to avoid like, I mean, I don't see you guys doing this, but someone could get 100 people enrolled and then they could cancel it beforehand. They probably have something in place where it would say like they need to get like their first bill or something. But I can't imagine that we're going to take any money back from you.
Okay.
I can get clarification on that though. That's a great question.
Just curious, because some people might sign up and then have it for a month or two and think, oh, maybe this isn't working and enroll. So I didn't know if you had sort of a waiting period on the campaign for when funds are allocated back.
Yeah, so to be clear, we would automatically send that out to you as they were enrolled. It will take 2 to 3 billing cycles from the time that you sign up for you to start seeing credits on your bill. So that's going to go for anyone that does this. However, if you talk to people that signed up for this like years ago, it took a lot longer in the past. And if you guys are talking to people that have already done this, there have been the change that you're not going to wait 6 months to a year because all of the solar farms are built. That's what took a while when people did back, a year ago. Also, there's been a big change in the billing. So, and it's worth just going over real quick. So with solar, you actually generate a lot of your winter credits or your kilowatt hours during the summer. So you might only be using 500 kilowatt hours in the summer, but you generated 1,000 and it gets banked with the utility to be available in the winter. The old style of billing would have taken that 1,000 kilowatt hours, multiplied it by the rates that you're paying to CMP at the time, subtracted 15%. So someone who didn't get a good explanation on this would get their first bill in July and they have heat pumps and their July bill last year was $400, but their Ampian bill was $450. And they think, wow, I'm getting scammed. They don't get any clarification and they cancel. So that is what you will see if you talk to some people. They'll tell you they had that experience. They didn't have a good explanation. They didn't understand that they were getting billed for the generation that was generated. They changed that last year where even if you're generated 1,000, but you only used 500 kilowatt hours from CMP, you're going to get a bill from Ampian for the 500 kilowatt hours minus 15%. And you're just going to see month to month savings, not over the course of a full calendar year is what you would see back when they billed the old way. That is a very common thing that we ran into. And so that change was made to benefit people just immediately. So I wanted to address that because you might find that. And that's a very, that's a big thing that needs to be clarified.
Thank you.
Yep.
Very helpful. Okay, so we will commit to discussing this. And as we go into our budget hearing, it's important that we come up with a decision because it'll be part of our budget process too. So I suggest, it's my recommendation that we think about this at our next meeting we're on our agenda to decide whether or not to move forward. Our next meeting is
January 26th.
January 26th, so we will have a decision after the end of that meeting. Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Very nice to meet you guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is the BH2M contract. Becky.
We received their contract and I sent it to Ben McCall, our town attorney. There was some back and forth last week between BH2M's attorney and our attorney as far as the language, and they came to full agreement at the end of the day Thursday. I got the clean copy today, which is why, but I wanted to get it on the agenda. Kyler Fiegels wanted to be here tonight. He was feeling under the weather, but I told him at this point, the attorneys have vetted it, which is, the next step. Ben is completely comfortable with the contract, so it is before you for approval.
So, I'll entertain a motion since it's been vetted by the attorney. I've looked at the draft. Any significant language issues?
No.
Head selectmen and
No, there was just some language, making sure things like the torts claim was in there, and there were some conversations that sort of revolved around that and liability and insurance. And once we got the two attorneys to be able to have a direct phone call, we were able to sort of get over the hurdles.
perfect. Let's entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we enter into the contract with BH2M,
For
the site services, site planning, I believe is what it is. Oh, oops, sorry. Yeah,
surveying, civil engineering, permitting services.
there we go. Proposal for surveying, civil engineering and permitting services.
Fire and rescue, public works facilities.
Oh. All right, let's try that again. I make a motion to enter into a contract with BH2M for proposal for surveying, civil engineering and permitting services for the fire and rescue and public works facility for the town of Pownell.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the contract from BH2M for the proposal for surveying, civil engineering and permitting services for the fire and rescue public works facility for the town of. Is there any further discussion?
Questions? So this survey, this is for the location that is up the road from here. Is it a good idea to put this much time and money into that location this time?
Okay, that is certainly a question. We have, I think we've discussed, but we could discuss it again.
Is there possibly coming up a change in location that would change this, the scope of this work?
There are members of the committee here, correct me if I'm wrong. I think this has been the recommendation of the Future Facilities Committee to pursue this opportunity to have the facility shovel ready so that the Future Facilities Committee can pursue grants and establish a foundation for further exploration of the process to build a fire station, public works. The future is an unknown. Things happen, but this has been the product of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years worth. So it's on the agenda here for the select board to decide whether to continue the process that's been started for 4 years. Doesn't commit town to anything. This was approved at town meeting to spend the money for this particular proposal for surveying, civil engineering and permitting. So we are merely allowing the expenditure of the money that was approved by the town meeting. So your question is appropriate. I don't think we can answer the future until the future comes. George.
It's also good to just remember that this is for the site plan. This is not, we're not putting a foundation in. I'm not saying we, but that's not what the committee's trying to achieve. It was a guidance by our, I don't know if she's the grant writer but Isabel, that we need to move forward with a site plan to be able to apply for the grant writings to the best that we can figure it out, because it seems like it shifts every couple of years, but as long as we have the site plan, we are now should be more eligible to apply for these federal grants. And hopefully we can come up with a number to get awarded or not, but at least then we'll have a clear path in the future.
Is that an answer to your question? I know it's a, this journey has been a long journey by the town. I think we need a little, I think in order to be faithful to the comprehensive plan, we need to consider this as the next step in the process that was started by the future facility. Again, the town is always looking for solutions. This does not commit us to one solution, but we're being faithful to what the volunteer committee presented to the select board that has been approved by the town meeting.
That's fine. That's a good answer. We have a
Is there a timeline on when this plan will be finished? And is there a timeline on the grants? Like, do the grants run up? Would it be allocated and approved and shovel ready before the grants are used up or not used up?
Great question, Shane. And the grants that their committee, I think, I could be wrong, is earmarking our federal grants. There are cycles to federal grants. So I'm not sure when this project, in the contract package, does the project have a begin and end date?
I believe the deliverables are planned for June 15th, if I remember the timeline from the initial RFP.
Want to say something that I wasn't sure. So June 12th, this will be finished. The federal grant cycle is a mystery to me, but it happens every year at a certain date. But other fiscal year grants, state, private, I'm sure I assume are recurring, but that's a great question.
Now,
Just got to get our foot in the game.
so if the town doesn't get approved for a grant to help with building this, is the board and the town okay with spending all their money to build it?
Another great question. We've talked about this, and in order to move forward, I think most reasonable people, and this is an assumption on my part, would assume the town will be hard pressed to afford this without help, grants. So in order to move forward, we have to see whether we're eligible and whether grants are available. So the town select board and the town meeting, after careful consideration, has voted to move forward with getting to this point so that we can apply for grants. We can't apply for grants until we get to this point.
Don't you think that the town should be in a position though, that they're willing and able to spend the money to build a project before they spend money on hopes to get a grant?
Once again, good question, and the question has been asked numerous times by very different people. And it's been the opinion of town meeting, select board, and future facility committee that we really don't know what we don't know. We don't know what grants we're gonna be able to get. But we do know, we do assume that the town might not be able to fund this facility without help.
Is the select board all right with wasting the money if they don't get the project completed?
I think the town,
One just real point, you gotta remember, the town has already voted and approved this money to be spent for this portion of the design at last year's town meeting. We're not taking this out of money now. This was already allocated by the town at town meeting, so the town already said we are willing to commit up to, I think the total is close to $500,000 for architectural design and site work plan. So we're now executing the plan that the town said go ahead and do last year at town meeting.
But is it in the best interest of the town?
Well, if the town voted to do it, then
I would take exception, only from my perspective, as one of three. I don't feel like we're wasting the money. I think it's a carefully considered strategy to try to move the process forward to eventually come to construct these buildings that town will always have a say in. We can't do anything more. Select board has no authority to do anything more than approve this contract. Any other money for this project, once again, will have to go before the town.
Did you guys get a quote on the design costs, or is it just
We got
up to?
seven different quotes. Then the committee gave a recommendation and we selected based on careful discussion. Long meeting. So yes, those are all really great questions and the process is open to the public. Once this is done.
Is there,
Once again, open to the public.
is there any idea that the town might move the location of it? Or is it set in stone, that's where it'll always be?
Everything has to be approved by town meeting. So once this is done and the proposal for surveying and civil engineering permitting services, I'm sure there'll be another step through the future. And they'll bring the proposals to the town. You'll have an opportunity to comment on that and be part of that process. Town people are the only people that can approve spending their money. It's your money, not the select board. But as George was correct saying, the town meeting did approve $500,000, of which the Future Facility Committee chose only to use $88,000. So they're trying their best to be financially prudent. But those are great questions.
Yeah, that's pretty much it then.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that they weren't spending the whole 500 on a open dream. I think it's,
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know. What is the?
The initial proposal is for 67,000. If we need SLOTA applications, that would put it up to 95. The select board approved 2 weeks ago up to 95,000 to enter into the contract negotiation. So it could be that we only need to actually even spend 67 because we don't know if we need the SLOTA applications at this point. We think no. But to make sure, the town allocated up to 500,000 last June towards this project, and we're only looking at up to 95 at this point.
is there a penalty in the clause if they don't deliver it by the 12th of June?
I honestly don't think there's a penalty. They have a pretty strict schedule to be, that they have outlined to go by. The committee vetted all the proposals and chose this one based on many, many points and discussion and scoring mechanisms. So I'm going to defer to that committee knowledge on the company, the proposal, and the fact that they expect that this would be delivered on time.
So this money was allocated out of undesignated fund balance. The money that's not spent will go back to undesignated fund balance. I think it should be mentioned that the Future Facilities Committee was very financially responsible for the bid they awarded underneath the money that was allocated by the town. So I think most committees are committed to being careful with taxpayers' money.
I would just make a recommendation that I think there should be a clause in there somewheres that if they don't deliver it on time, they're financially responsible or have to refund a percentage of the design costs.
Well, our attorney vetted it, and I'm assuming the attorney would have been
Mhm.
So I will get in touch with the attorney to make sure that we're not exposed to any liability being late. Thank you for that comment. Okay. Onward. You've done
You are-
well. You're a patient group.
You're in discussion, so you need to vote. Yep. All right.
Ready for the discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of onward?
So John, you have the clean copy.
I
John, you
know.
have the clean copy to sign in front. Yep.
Is there?
I think it's on, yep.
We can move on. Next item is the bucket brigade.
I can introduce that while you're signing. Yep, so we have in the past had what we called the Bucket Brigade, which is a group of volunteers that would deliver the 2 buckets of sand to seniors that didn't have the capability to get over here. The 2 of the biggest volunteers are not available at this moment. So we talked about having this on the schedule to talk about how we sort of rejuvenate that program. We had a call last week from a resident asking for 2 buckets of sand, and we kind of weren't sure, the direction to go because the people we would call were not available.
The buckets of sand were delivered.
Great.
By a 4-year-old chairperson of the select. I just think it's a great opportunity for people to serve the town in a very simple way. The resident was so grateful for just getting the sand. It took me 2 minutes. So, but if we had some young people that would like to commit, that'd be great. I don't know how to approach. So any suggestions from? I was looking your way, hoping.
I know.
Right.
I will bring it up at the next department meeting,
Great.
which is 2 weeks from now.
And we will, I think, consider under our budget negotiations, see if we can stipend. It's really important that the town take care. I think Schmidt mentioned there are vulnerable people in the town.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fire department has been a good steward to those people, and if we could just somehow figure out a way to get the junior fire thing.
Yep. No.
Figure out a way to stipend. A way to.
Well, let's see if it's even necessary.
Yeah. Well, I think
The stipend part.
always going to be.
The stipend part.
It's always going to be crappy weather in Maine. I fell delivering the bucket, the sand. I should.
I didn't get a 911 call, so
Trying to save money.
I'll just use,
Negotiations with Freeport. I tried
yeah,
to-
yeah. I will use, the bully pulpit.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We will somehow recognize them. I think it's important to incorporate young people to volunteer. I know the junior firemen, fire people, I'm sorry. I think it's. I see it, yes.
Now, I'd be willing to volunteer on call, I don't know about younger. And, would the buckets be available, like, you have buckets that we could come and get and then bring to the people, or?
The residents have buckets. The residents already have buckets. I use buckets of my own, but I'm sure the town could come up with 5-gallon.
I think there are some downstairs in the basement. Yeah.
Well, I just went and.
Just got one bucket here. Right, I mean, just, like if I showed up here with, after work and didn't have any buckets, I'm gonna bring it to.
I think there's some in the basement, if I remember correctly, and that was part of the original bucket brigade was making sure there was buckets. And I'm not sure what happened at delivery. There might have been a place that they were able to dump and then bring those buckets back for the next potential. It was an exchange? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, maybe we could put it on the website. I don't think, a lot of people might not be able to volunteer for committees, but I think there'd be a lot of people you could, if you had a list of 20 people, you could call, you'll get somebody.
We can put it in the constant contact this month too. That typically gets people. Yeah.
Thank you for volunteering. Thank you for remembering to put it on the agenda. All right, pennies out of circulation.
I just want to plant the seed of a future conversation that's coming quicker than expected. So as we all know, they've stopped minting pennies. They're not technically out of circulation. However, some banks, including the bank we use, have pulled them. So every time I go to the bank and deposit our cash with pennies, they accept them, but I can't get pennies back to put in the drawer now. So there's going to come a point in time where I'm not going to be able to make exact change, and we're going to have a policy around how we're going to handle that. There could be some options where if, for the most part, things come out even, but with excise tax and vehicles, that presents a challenge. So if somebody was registering and it was 52 cents, I can't make that 2 cents change. So maybe we put 2 cents on their tax bill. I mean, I don't know, I'm not sure. Some towns are looking at a round up, round down policy, where if it's 51 or 52, it rounds back to 50. And if it's 53, 54, it rounds up to 55. But every night our cash drawer would not come out either. So just planting the seed, I've got to do a little bit more research, but I want to get ahead of it before I don't have any more pennies to give.
We will have to call for volunteer donation. I'm sure you.
Well, so don't I, and I plan on bringing those in once I decide if any of them are worth any money now. No, just but those won't last forever, So.
Okay, thank you for that information. Volunteer form, Nicholas Cody, Becky.
Yes, Nicholas Cody submitted a volunteer form for the Mallet Hall Buildings and Grounds Committee last week. I think he has had some discussions with Jan Peter about joining. Yep.
Sure. Trying to schedule a meeting. I move that we approve Nicholas Cody as a volunteer member of the Mallet Hall Building and Grounds Committee.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Thank you, Nicholas Cody.
We'll get an oath ready and I'll get your signatures on that later this week.
Right. Last item, RFP, salt sand shed definition.
We got a submission.
Ta-da!
Yes, the deadline was last week. This is from Gale Associates Incorporated, has not been opened yet. So we will open. Okay, I am going to pass those down.
Thank you.
This RFP is for an engineering study of the sand and salt shed so that we can have a very good comprehensive report of what we need to do to get it fixed. And they have set a fixed fee towards the back.
700.
Correct. So my suggestion is we all review and come back at the next meeting with what we feel. It was the only submission. We did reserve the right in the RFP to reject all as well, so. Or accept.
Thank you. Do we accept town minister's recommendation of reviewing and coming by next week for approval or rejection?
I would say yes.
George?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll give one to Dan as well for review.
Okay. Glad we got one. Is there any other new business? Is there any old business?
We will have the other TV by the 26th. It will be mounted by the first budget committee presentation.
Any correspondence from the select board? Becky?
I just want to put it on the minutes. We did get an announcement out last week that we were made aware that the scammers are back at it. Some people will remember about a year ago. Scammers were posing as town officials and sending out invoices on current projects before planning board, stating that you had an outstanding invoice and to EFT or wire the money. They have come back around, and 2 people that have had projects in front of the planning board each got emails last week requesting that the invoice, I can't remember the exact language, but the grammar was not right in one of the things, but they are asking for wired money. And so we're just cautioning people again that the town is never going to ask for you to pay over the phone or through a wire transfer. If we ask for any sort of payment, you're going to get a signed letter from me or a phone call, probably from the office, myself or from a member of the planning board. These 2 correspondents were signed by one of the chairs of the planning board, which they used his name. It wasn't from him. They did it last year. Brunswick was hit. I think York or Kittery was hit with the same thing. And so again, do not respond to any of that and contact the town if you get one so that we're made aware and we can advise you on next steps.
Would you pass this to Becky? Becky, would you put this on next meeting's agenda? It's a proposal, the road commissioner about lighting.
Okay.
And would you also put on the agenda proposal to purchase a warranty for the new truck?
Warranty for,
Truck.
I'm sorry, what?
The Western Star.
Okay.
And the correspondence, I just want to reiterate, I've been phoned a number of times by people asking for personal references for town employees. Just want to repeat that the town select board does not respond to phone requests for references for employees, nor should any other town official give references to unsubstantiated callers. So I just want to put that public record. Any other correspondence? Good. Then I think, is there any other business? Then I think I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
Second it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Thank you.